Welcome to this video on lesson 3 of the Human Body Part 2 scheme. Now, the Human Body Part 2 scheme, as I said in the previous video, has a number of different sequences of lessons within it. And this first sequence of lessons within that is really related to this idea of communicable diseases. This idea that many diseases are not caused by changes happening inside the body. This kind of medieval idea that people used to have of a kind of imbalance of humours. Diseases, typically, or at least communicable diseases, many diseases are caused by some sort of very tiny little creature that exists out here in the world somewhere that somehow gets inside our body and causes problems. And this is an idea that we, as people who have been educated in science, kind of take for granted. But actually, it's a really huge idea for students that students need to internalize. And what we need by the end of this sequence of lessons is for them to really, really thoroughly understand that idea that a lot of diseases are caused by something getting in. And so what you'll see in these videos, and in these videos I'm just going to go through how I taught this to a group at Orchard Park High School in Croydon earlier this academic year. I think the idea that we want to get across is, okay, firstly, how is it that these pathogens in the different cases, bacterial, protists, protozoa, viruses, how is it that these things get into the body? And secondly, when they get inside the body, what is it that they do to cause problems? So what you'll see in this video is that I've sketched out a few concrete examples of bacteria or bacteria and we'll look at the diseases caused by them as well, which is kind of linked. But so one is cholera. This is not the best drawing ever, but this is my smelly puddle, so it's dirty water. And again, that's the kind of commentary that I'll give to students while I'm explaining this. Second two, Salmonella and E. coli, both found in food. So I've drawn a very rudimentary beef burger, some smelly gone-off milk, and an egg here, so an egg that might contain Salmonella. And then thirdly, tuberculosis. This is typically airborne. It's transmitted by coughing, or communicated by coughing, and so on. And again, what I'm doing is showing that in all three of these cases, what's happening here is that there is some sort of very tiny organism, microorganisms called bacteria, which are getting from out in the air, or from any of these things, somehow into the person's body. And I've used these little green squiggles here to show that there's something happening because these pathogens, these bacteria, have entered the body. And then what I've tried to do is zoom in inside the body and show what's happening. And the main idea, I mean, this is a year 8 lesson, we're not going into loads and loads of detail. The main thing in this lesson is for students to distinguish between how bacteria affect cells and how viruses affect cells. So in this case, I've got toxins entering the cells, and what I would do is, or what I did in this lesson is explain to students that the toxins damage the cells, and that's what causes problems. One thing to note, typically when this taught, and what I've seen a lot in the past, is that we do these very kind of abstract lessons where we say, okay, there are 4 ways diseases can be transmitted from one organism to another. One is direct contact, one is airborne, one is through water, one is sexually, whatever. I guess the point here is that rather than starting with these very abstract things, let's start with some concrete examples of actual bacteria, and then show all of those different categories that I just went through, waterborne, airborne, and so on, through some kind of concrete examples. So yeah, hopefully what you can see here is it's this idea of concrete to abstract. We're starting with very, very concrete things over here, and we're moving to one layer of abstraction, this idea that actually all of these things contain pathogens, to an even greater layer of abstraction, which is that these pathogens, if they're bacteria, release the toxins and damage your cells. So hopefully that makes clear how you can explain this. There are some quick assess questions and some kind of comprehension, deliberate practice questions in the slides. In the next video, we will look at viral diseases.